To make the DIY jewelry box, you'll need an unfinished wooden box. Ours is 5.5 inches by 5.5 inches, and it's hinged and has a cute little latch. You'll also need a pretty piece of scrapbook paper and a printout of the jewelry box label, and we have this available for you to download. You'll also need Mod Podge Gloss, yellow craft paint, a brayer, scissors, a craft paintbrush, a ruler, and a pencil. We went ahead and painted our entire jewelry box with our yellow paint. You can see we did all 4 sides and the top here. And now what we want to do is cut out a piece of our pretty scrapbook paper for the center of our box. Ours already has this sort of notch cut out, so we're going to make the center scrapbook paper piece the same size as that little section. If yours doesn't have that, you can just measure how far in you want your scrapbook paper to be. So here's our beautiful scrapbook paper that we picked out. And what we want to do is pick out which area to cut a little square out of. But a little trick for doing that is to create a little border frame that's the same size as the section. It frames the section that you want to cut out. So we made a little frame. It's like a little window. And what we're going to do is kind of hold it up in different areas of the paper, kind of move it around to see which parts we like for that center area. And we love this paper because it's got such an abstract look to it. It really looks different as you move the frame around. The mood really changes. Like all of a sudden this is much more whimsical. This looks a little tropical. I kind of like this area up here where we've got a little bit of green in this corner and down in this corner. That seems nice. So now that I've got our little frame there, what I can do is take a pencil and just make a couple little marks here and there. And I can use these as guidelines to cut it out. I'll show you. So I'm just lightly making a couple marks here. I'll mark the corners like that. And then what I can do is use my ruler to connect those lines, and I'll get a straight line that way. So it's just like a little trick. And I'm just doing little light lines here. And I'll go ahead and erase those pencil marks once I'm done. And this might not fit exactly in our little area. We can kind of trim it if we need to. I kind of can't see that side. I'm going to move my ruler to the other side of my line so I can see it better. There we go. And now I'm just going to take this and cut it out, and we'll be ready to decoupage. We cut out our square of scrapbook paper and we're ready to decoupage it into the center of our jewelry box. To do that, we've got our Mod Podge here. And we like to use Mod Podge Gloss for projects like this. I'm just going to squeeze some into a dish there. And we find the best way to Mod Podge or decoupage paper onto something is to paint the paper first with the Mod Podge. So I'm going to use a generous amount of Mod Podge on my flat paintbrush here. And I'm just going to paint it right over the back of the scrapbook paper. And it's a pretty, kind of a medium, I'd call it a medium coat, like a medium thickness. The paper is curling a little bit, but don't worry about that. It'll flatten out. So it does dry or can dry kind of quickly, so I'm going to move kind of fast here. And I'm also going to paint the Mod Podge directly where I'm going to Mod Podge or decoupage the paper to this box, which is this center square. So again, I'm doing kind of a generous coat here, like that. And don't worry if you get it sort of outside the area that you want to decoupage the scrapbook paper to, because we're going to actually seal the entire box when we're done so that the finish is the same. So like I went out a little bit there, it doesn't matter, it's no problem. So now I'm going to take my paper and center it as best I can. I'm eyeballing it here on the box. I'm just moving it a little bit because I got a little bit high. There we go. And I'm just going to rub it a little bit with my fingers, but you can see I'm getting a little bit of a wrinkle there. So I'm going to use the brayer to just roll right over the top of the box, and what that's doing is it's spreading out the Mod Podge underneath into a nice even layer. So like you can see it squeezed out some extra Mod Podge over there. And I can just, use my finger, or you can use a paintbrush to pull that excess out. But like I said, we're going to seal the whole thing with Mod Podge, so that doesn't matter. If any of your corners are coming up, you can always just add a little bit more Mod Podge under the edges. And now we're just going to let this dry, and then we'll come back and add our cute little phrase. We cut out our cute jewelry box label, and now we're going to decoupage that into the center of our jewelry box. And we're going to use the same technique we just did. We're flipping it over and painting a nice kind of medium thick coat on the back of our label like that. Get it all over. Leave that there. And then I'm going to just paint the center of the jewelry box where I know this is going to fit. And it doesn't matter if you go outside the edges a little bit, because once the whole thing is dry, we're going to go back over the entire box on the top and the sides and the whole thing with a final coat of Mod Podge to seal it. So now I'm going to take my Blingy Things cute label and just center it, kind of eyeball there in the center. And then I'm just going to press it down like we did before, all the way around. Make sure your fingers are nice and clean when you do this, because this is white and it'll show if you have anything on your fingers. And then I'm going to use my brayer again and just kind of go over it once. The brayer is going to get a little bit sticky because it's already got some Mod Podge on it there. So there we go. That looks pretty good. And then I'm just going to let that dry. Now we're ready to add a coat of Mod Podge to the entire surface of our jewelry box, and that'll just give it a nice shiny finish. And to do that, I'm just going to do what I did before. Take my paintbrush, dip it in the Mod Podge, and then I'm just going to go right over the scrapbook paper, right over our label, like that. And that's going to seal it. Now there's a little bit of excess around the edge of my label, but I'll show you how to get rid of that. 1 second. Now that we got it, have it all the way around, I'm just going to take my paintbrush, kind of go around the edge like that to scoop out any excess, like that, and kind of even it out there so I don't have any lumps and bumps. And then I can just sort of gently brush off the label like that, and then my brush strokes won't really show that much, and there won't be any excess around the edge built up. And now I'm going to go just right over the edge of the box itself with the Mod Podge. And this will dry clear, so don't worry that like right now it looks a little hazy and it makes the paper look a little bit hazy, and we don't want it to look dreary. So don't panic, it will dry clear and look nice and shiny. There we go. And there's a little bit in there. I'm just going to use my paintbrush to pull that excess out. But again, it'll dry clear, so don't sweat it too much. I'm also going to do the sides all the way around the box. And when you do this, it's a good idea to open the box, because it will glue itself shut if you paint the whole thing. That the Mod Podge is kind of like a glue. It acts like a glue, and it can glue your whole box shut, so that would be a bummer. So when I leave this on the table to dry, I'm actually just going to prop it open so that the inside doesn't glue itself together. So now I've sealed my entire box with my Mod Podge. I painted right over the top and all the way around the sides, and I'm just going to set this aside to dry and prop it open, like I said, so it doesn't glue itself closed. And once it's dry, I'll have a beautiful DIY jewelry box.